Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have one of my favorite people in the studio. He is the recently former CEO of the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, a strategist, a brand marketing expert, a cool cat, and everything in between. And that's Krishna Kabra. How you doing, Krishna?
I'm good. You're so kind to me, Drew.
Other way around. Absolutely other way around. And I'm honored to introduce my co-host. Kristen Fogel is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. You guys are going to have a lot in common. They're going to be celebrating their 20th anniversary in 2024, and Kristen's been a frequent guest on the show, and so we chatted because we actually like each other.
From time to time, mostly.
Right.
It's about 92%. I think the recent numbers came out.
It did 92%, right? It fluctuates from 15 to
day to day.
To 93.
Yeah.
But she's been doing the co-hosting. It's been great. And I know we're going to let Kristen start off with questions for you right out of the gate.
Sure, yeah. I just wanted to hear a little bit about your background at the museum and how you came to that work. So give us a little rundown.
By complete serendipity, I was originally on the board of directors at the Children's Museum, which is such a blessed place. And during COVID, we lost our executive director back then. So, and I had just recently exited the consulting world, which is most of my background, and, who was really going to be at the helm of a children's museum where the premise is please touch anything in the middle of a global pandemic. So I put my hand up rather foolishly at the time and said, sure, hand me the reins, we'll figure it out. And spent 3 glorious years there and loved every moment. And it truly was, as they say, a labor of love. The hardest job I've ever done, and also the most meaningful and rewarding work I've ever done.
It's such a great place. I have a 5-year-old, so we've touched, we've explored, and it's just such a wonderful, wonderful place. So
yeah, it is a magical place to be in the company of children who are the most curious of all beings is a phenomenal environment to be in.
Absolutely. And do you find that a lot of San Diegans are just finding out about you? Because I'll mention it to some people and they know the new Children's Museum, but don't know this amazing museum that's up there.
Yeah, I think pre-pandemic we didn't have as much of a presence in San Diego. I think over the last 3 years, our presence has heightened somewhat. I still think that there's a lot more opportunity for us to raise our awareness amongst all of San Diego. I think there was a period where we were like, oh yeah, you guys are the guys up in North County. But I think the magical thing about the museum is not only do we attract from San Diego, but we also attract from Orange County periodically. And we have our mobile museum that visits schools all over the district. So all over San Diego. They go super far south down to sort of Chula Vista. They go down to San Diego also, but they also go as far up north around Fallbrook too. So our tentacles are pretty extensive.
That's great. Yeah. I know you're no longer working with the museum just recently, but I just want to sing its praises because it's so great as a parent. The park that's across is it the Grape Street Park?
The Grape Day Park.
Grape Day Park. Grape Day Park is right across the way. Escondido just has every restaurant known to man, so you can really make a day in that region. So
you can. Yeah. Great restaurants. The Safari Park is right there. We're right there. So it's a phenomenal place. Yeah. It's such a great place for children to learn cognitive skills, build their social, emotional awareness, for them to learn from other children. And all the programming on site is all completely free. So every day, which is amazing.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about your previous job as a brand expert and consultant and some of the companies you worked with before, because it ties into what we're going to talk about, and that's all about leadership.
Sure. So I helped to build 2 British-born consulting firms. The first one was very disruptive back in the day, probably at this point 18 years ago or so. And I started off as employee number 3. And we were just getting venture capital funding. And the premise of that business was to use behavioral economics and some very disruptive forms or approaches to research to understand how consumers behaved. And the US business grew leaps and bounds. And our first international office was in New York. And I think in about 18 months, we were bigger than the UK office. So we grew really fast.
Wow.
And we were working with all the Fortune 500 brands. The second one was mostly brand-led innovation. Also grew that British-born business here in the US, and working with some amazing international brands like Coca-Cola and Boston Scientific and Shell, and just working
Very
with
small companies,
but really,
you probably haven't heard of them, but yeah.
But really interesting work. And I think that's why I've been drawn to that work so much, is innovation is just such a often touted word, but in the work of innovation, like actually doing the work of building pipeline for clients, super fun.
That's up your alley, Drew. You're all about the innovation.
It is, and and Krishna's been very kind enough to go to some of the Classroom of the Future Foundation events. We just had Soup Tank 3.0. I think you were out of town or something to that effect, and so where we have superintendents make 5-minute pitches and doing the Shark Tank deal, and it's all about innovation and so forth. But you can't help but talk about leadership when you talk about innovation, and especially what you've done. And everyone, that's another word that's thrown out every 5 seconds about leadership. How do you define it? How do you define leadership? We got 3 hours.
I think good leadership, to me, is not something that you switch on and off. It's a mindset. It's how you operate day to day. Good leaders are leaders in every aspect of their lives. And I think that the most beautiful, I feel in a state of flow, and that I'm a good leader when I'm here to serve others. And the leader is really not about the I, it's about the collective. And if you are in service of nurturing an inspired collective, you are leading.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. We're chatting with Krishna Kabra, just recently stepped down, retired, whatever, as the CEO of the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, and, a brand expert, marketing expert about leadership. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listen to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast, now in our 17th year. We're brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union and his beautiful Mission Fed studios in Scripps Ranch, joined by my very cool colleague, Kristen Fogel, co-hosting with me. Has it been 2 months now? How many months?
It's been at least 4 years.
It's been at least 4 years, but it seems like 2 months, right?
It's probably 2 months in actuality, yes.
Exactly. Kristen is the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. I think what's so important about leadership is 85,000 things that go with it. But I will say this: when you talk about real good leaders, they are unbelievable listeners. They are phenomenal listeners. And what is amazing, when I look at a good leader, I go, wow, that person was actually listening when we threw this line out, because you never think they're paying attention. Next thing you know, you heard me say that? Talk about that.
How can you not be a good listener as a leader, right? In my mind, you are, again, like, to speak in the spirit of service, you can only serve if you understand. And if you don't understand a problem, needs, a culture, and you're not actively listening, you wouldn't even know where to lead from. So in my mind, it's active listening, an active observation too, like being very highly perceptive and being able to read between the lines of what someone is saying.
Right. I finally get to use my Masters of Mass Communication stuff. Every once in a while I get to do it and talk about nonverbal communication and proxemics and kinesics and everything that goes with it when you read people and all that business. And sometimes you get a little overboard. You start reading in too much, and then next thing you know, you're not paying attention because you're looking at the person twiddling their thumbs. They're not really paying attention to me. No, they're paying attention to you. You're just watching them twiddle their thumbs and stuff. I know you have a question for it.
I do. Yeah. I wondered if you could kind of talk about the origins of leadership and kind of take us to where we are at now, kind of structurally, culturally, in terms of leadership.
It's so interesting, right? I'm currently reading a lot of books, but I'm reading A King by Jonathan Eeg, which is Martin Luther King's biography. And I mean, talk about great leader, but one of the several extraordinarily illuminating insights from the book is that he had so many flaws as a leader. There was a lot wrong with him. He wasn't the brightest person in the class. He was very stubborn. He had a difficult relationship with his wife, who actually was a lot smarter than he was. And he was quite insecure too, Yeah. And yet, history books would say, and often he's spoken about as being this incredibly brilliant speaker, but a phenomenal leader, which he was. But I think that's the part of leadership, I think, that we also need to talk more about, is that leaders are complex, right? And they're not, in all their glory, perfect. And I think another aspect of leadership is being able to notice what you are not good at, and where something that is not your strength, and how to mitigate for that, and who to bring to the table, and acknowledge people around the table for their core competency. And you as a leader, that's part of your role, is to bring together a set of skills and a set of mindsets that allow an organization or a movement or whatever it might be to thrive. Is that what you asked me?
Yes, all of those things. Yeah, we were talking about origins of leadership and where we're at now. But I just wanted to comment on, it is interesting that we kind of sometimes frame King as being perfect in a way. And it runs counter, I feel like, to the psychological sort of principles of, when they show us like a picture of a perfect human, and then they show us a picture of like a leader with some flaws, we like that, we feel more comfortable with that. So, I was just kind of ruminating on that, as a species, like we're good with that. We like to see the humanness in our leaders too.
And I think in terms of where we are right now, I think there are some big question marks around leaders, so to speak, in the world, and their values, their approaches. In my mind, if we look at the political landscape, which is a
dangerous place.
Could there be a bigger minefield?
Sure.
No.
But, in my mind, cooperation and collaboration lies at the heart of good leadership.
Absolutely.
Right? And that's something that we're not seeing right now. It's something, more importantly, that our children are not seeing right now.
Yeah.
And it's also, to take that a step further, it's not something that we actively nurture in the young minds of the world. The spirit within education and within the world is to compete.
Yes.
Win, right? Win in every aspect. And somebody winning means someone's losing. And if we were to flip that on its head and say, collaborate. Winning is, if you guys can work together, you're winning.
Yes.
I just wonder what the future leader would look like.
Yeah.
Well, I think, all of this is something that, I feel very passionate about, that starts at the home. The first teacher is the parents, and the lifelong teacher are the parents, okay? And, a lot of this nonsense is, not in your genes. You're taught how to not collaborate. You're taught how not to disrespect people. You're taught how to be racist. That's taught, okay? Yeah. Or it could be taught non-verbally or by actually people saying these things. I think there's got to be a point And I think, without the show is not political at all, that we do here, but there's got to be a point to say, you know what, these things are wrong. Okay, whatever this is. It is wrong to do that. No, it was okay that they went and stormed the Capitol. No. That is wrong, or whatever the stuff is. And hold a line to say, that's wrong, or whatever the it is. And you see too many people, well, I guess they, can't be wishy-washy when it comes to certain things that are absolute. Do you agree or disagree?
I mean, in my mind, humanity, by definition, is that we are connected. The definition of humanity is that we are a connected species. Mm-hmm. So how we don't nurture cooperation and collaboration, to me, is odd. Mm-hmm. We're connected in so many more ways than we're disconnected. So the first thing we should be encouraging children, and we should be modeling for our children also, is that we work together.
Yes.
Yet the way the world is structured and the way education is structured is that, are you at the top or are you at the bottom, mm-hmm. or somewhere in the middle? But there is a rank and file. It's not a case of the collective. Like when I think about testing, right, mm-hmm. in the education system, there is no part of that. There is absolutely no part of that is designed around collaboration or cooperation, mm-hmm. at all. You are on your own, and it is you jump through the hoops by yourself, and you will pass the test on your own. And yet we encourage children to go into the workplace. And it's very rare that they'll be working exclusively in isolation, mm-hmm. right? Yep. They are almost, from the very day that you start your job, you're part of either a graduate team or a team of people, and projects are group projects. So there is a disconnect there, and a very significant one too.
Yeah, without question. We're chatting with Krishna Kabra. She's the recent CEO of the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum. Brand expert, marketing expert, taking some time off to read books. And we need her back in the workforce doing great stuff, talking about leadership. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. And now the nation's longest running community podcast. We're in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Mission Fed's been doing great things in San Diego for more than 60 years, joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Fogel, the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc. When we come back from break, Krishna, let's talk more about leadership. Is leadership inherent? Is it taught? Is it both? How do people improve? Can they learn to be leaders with good mentors and so forth? And just some good advice for people as they're moving forward in their careers as it ties to leadership. How's that sound?
Yeah, perfect.
We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and we are chatting with our good friend Krishna Kabra, recently retired I don't want to say retired because you're coming back to do some great things.
You let the woman read her books, okay? Yeah. She will come back when she is done, okay? I am from the literary angle. You just let us sit and read.
We need her back. We need her back now. She's the CEO of San Diego Children's Discovery Museum up in Escondido, as a brand expert, marketing expert. I'm joined by my colleague, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. Kristen's been co-hosting the program with me for a couple months on this thing. Right before break, we were talking about leadership, right? Are you born into it? Do you learn into it? Do you do a little bit of both on this? What do you think?
I mean, I can only talk from my own experience and me personally, but also what I have observed in the world. In my mind, leadership is modeled. Good leaders are people who obviously lead well, but they are exemplars to others who are in their orbit. I've had the good fortune of having two phenomenal bosses in my previous life, and I think they weren't by any means perfect, but I think I took from each of them aspects of leadership that I really respected and that resonated with me. And like I said earlier, leadership is not something that you switch on or off. It's a way of life. It's a mindset. It's a philosophy. It's how you operate in the world. And good leaders are oftentimes deeply empathetic, which is why they are good listeners. And that empathy serves us in every aspect of our life, whether we're parents, friends, partners. So in my mind, leadership is more often than not modeled. I think there was a time, perhaps back in the, God knows, 80s, when, there were so many books on leadership and how to be a good leader. And there was no part of one's humanity that was oftentimes included in those books. It was all about the practice of leadership versus the person that is a leader.
I was going to ask it before Kristen gets into her question. So you're reading King, right?
I am.
Would you say that's one of your favorite books on leadership? It's really about King, but you can read between the lines. Or is there a book that says this book nails leadership? Like you said, there's a million books out there on leadership.
I have...
or is it Dr. Seuss's Green Eggs and Ham?
Actually, it is. Well, no, that's one of the many ones. I think children's books are oftentimes the most powerful leadership books.
Yes.
One of my favorite all-time books is the BFG. I'm a massive Roald Dahl fan. Huge. But I also think that there are... the books that are specifically about leadership are oftentimes not the best books about leadership.
Right.
And I think, just to reference what I was saying earlier, is we learn by observation and not but with our eyes, but also with what we read. I'm a big also Brene Brown fan too. But you know this about me, Drew, I'm quite a kooky spiritual being. And one of the things I often have said to people I've mentored in the past is being a good leader is doing your inner work. And if you do your inner work, you can operate without being triggered, and you operate in wholly in the spirit of service of others without an ego, right? Because good leaders should not have big ego, because it's not about you. It's about the cause.
100%.
Right. So it's such a complex word, and there is the practice, the human side of it, the spiritual side of it, the mentorship side of it. So different books serve different purposes.
Right, exactly. My favorite book on leadership was Robert Fulghum's Everything I Learned in Kindergarten. Have you read that book?
No.
You should read it. Go pick that up. Yeah. And it's great. Everything I learned in kindergarten. It was beautiful. All right, Kristen, question?
Well, I'm writing down book things because this is what I do. Is just
you're a writer,
and a reader. I love to read.
Yeah,
I guess one of the things that I was wondering while you're talking about this, and we're talking about early childhood and all that sort of stuff, is are there educational models or leadership opportunities that you gravitate toward that you say, I wish children in my life or children in general, would go toward these, that might be practical to kind of form future leaders?
So we've talked pretty extensively, Drew, you and I, about the world of education and all that's right with it, but more importantly, all that's wrong with it, and how it needs to be hugely disrupted. And in terms of educational models, the one piece I think that would help tremendously in nurturing our future leaders is applied education. Application of what they're learning and how it pertains to the real world, but also using that application world to observe leaders in that field. So, for example, if it is about mathematics, applied aspects of mathematics, and then how are leaders in that world using applied mathematics to lead their organization or whatever it is that they're leading.
Sure.
I think learning for the sake of learning is not learning.
Yeah.
My son sat in the car the other day and he's like, I just don't understand where I'm ever going to have to use algebra 3 ever. Like, it's such a waste of my time. And it makes me really sad because I can say to him, you're learning how to learn, but I don't think that's a good enough explanation.
Sure.
So I know in Northern Europe, the Scandinavian countries in particular have phenomenal models for applied subjects. And they encourage children from a very young age to apply some of their learning and how it, to the real world, which makes it much more meaningful. I mean, as human beings, we are naturally curious. So why not leverage that?
Right.
Well, that brings me to, and I'm not sure if you know who he is. We're working with him. He's been on the Classroom of the Future Foundation Advisory Board with me, one of the leaders in just thought. Devin Vidishka?
No.
So Devin was a former Vista superintendent, got hired by the alt school. Everything this guy touches just goes to gold. One of the reviewers said in the book he wrote, one of the top 4 education books written of all time. He has started an organization called Learner Centered Collaborative. What a shock. All focused on the learner, the kid. He's in 150 school districts now. We're going to be working with him and with Tad Parson of BCCA on this stuff. But it ties so beautifully in. I mean, it's the DNA of the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, of everything you believe in. What you just said about the Nordic countries is you're focused on the learner. It's not the adult. You're focused on what the learner wants to learn and how they want to learn it, how you provide it, which I think is the best way of learning about these strategies. So, Kristen, you got a 5-year-old, right?
I do. True story.
That's right. Exactly.
Yes.
So, a reader, a learner, a listener, a what?
Well, you were talking about all the reading. I mean, we do extensive reading. And my background, like your Mass Comm, my master's is in rhetoric. So we're constantly dissecting things. What's the messaging? What are these pictures telling you? What if this was told from this person's point of view? Like all of these different things. So, he's very curious about the world. And, we ask and answer and talk about a lot of different things, even though he's quite young. So
yeah, exactly. We're chatting with Krishna Kabra. She is, I'm designating her as a superstar, which she's just absolutely just recoiling, but she's going to take it. Beautiful. Former CEO of the San Diego Children's Discovery Museum, marketer, book reader, leader, and all that business, talking about leadership and so forth. You're on Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest community spotlight. Our community podcast, I should say, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by Kristen Fogel, the executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. We got a couple more minutes. What do you suggest? Because we want to continue this conversation down the road with you on leadership, especially when you go into your next chapter, whenever that may be. So for parents that, can they recommend books to the teachers? Can they recommend books to their kids? What do you recommend for young folks to, at any age, to learn about leadership?
I think everybody should read, period. Don't you feel like we live in an age where people aren't reading anymore?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think actually, I think, and Krishna can disagree with me on it. I'm past president of the Greater San Diego Reading Association. And then my friends go, "You don't read? What are you talking about, for God's sake?" I think people are reading a lot. Mm-hmm. It's just maybe not the traditional way of reading, right?
Maybe.
I mean, to me, reading is reading. And we had this thing going on. I'm dating myself now, and it's still applicable if they're using it or not. During the school day, when I was developing curriculum called USSR, and that's uninterrupted silent sustained reading, which every day in the school day, we're stopping for 25 minutes. Read whatever you want, okay? Sports Illustrated, Mad Magazine.
It doesn't matter.
During the Kellogg cereal, every day, during the school day, read. And I think that was beautiful when they did. And then I'm not sure if they're still doing that, but reading is just so critical in that area.
It is. I think it really is. I mean, I have a 14 and a 16-year-old, and every now and again, I still have a stash of kids' books, and I will still sometimes twist their arm and have them lie next to me, and we'll go through a book that's written for a 7-year-old, just because it's a moment for us to bond. It's sweet. There's a part of their inner child that I get to talk to. And I think in terms of specific books, I think it's a worthy endeavor for families to read, to have designated time of reading. But in terms of leadership, I think leadership, again, is modeled. So if parents could only take a minute, even if they may not be in leadership roles at work, it's everyone has an aspect of where at some point in their life they have led something.
That's right.
Right? And so what is that? And as a parent, you are actually a leader.
Yes.
Right?
Of course.
So what aspects of you and your style of leadership are you really good at? Talk about that. Mm-hmm. Model it. Have a conversation about it. Encourage your children to lean into their own strengths and to recognize their own strengths, as an open discussion, right? The other piece of leadership also in education is that at too early of an age, do we make things right or wrong? Right? You got that right. You got that wrong. Mm-hmm. Curiosity doesn't like right and wrong. Curiosity just likes questions. Mm-hmm. So, it's not too late, regardless of the age of your kids, as they get older, to keep encouraging them to ask questions, encouraging them to be curious. At school, they have to get things right. They have to get a grade. But outside of school, make as many mistakes as you want, ask as many questions as you want.
Well, I mean, that is the DNA of an entrepreneur, and that is you are going to make more mistakes than you're not.
Absolutely.
And you know that. Krishna Kabra, it is always a delight to have you. I can't believe 30 minutes went so fast. Promise you'll come back. We'll continue the conversation with even more talk about leadership or anything that comes to your mind, because it's always a good conversation. What do you think?
Like I said at the beginning, you're so kind to me. I love coming in to chat to you.
Well, listen, the honor is all mine. And Kristen, thank you so much. I know you can't wait for Krishna to come back and make a return appearance. I know you got 75 other questions we didn't even get to, did you?
Yeah, and I can't wait to see what's on the horizon for you, work-wise, life-wise. So you'll have to keep us updated.
Yeah, I certainly will.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, doing great things in San Diego for more than 6 decades. Hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.